Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Live in color. Happy Easter. Hope everybody's set up for a safe weekend. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo, David Sis, Boom Ba. See, he waits for it, eh?
Yeah.
He's like, just Sis doesn't sound right anymore. If I just said Dave Sis, it'd be like, and
And where's the rest of it?
Sammy McKee also on board. And for the second day in a row, we're going to have to say, Sammy, squirrel, 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 to get him off the Masters.
Yeah. We're not too much different than that. We're going to do our best. The golf is interesting though. Do you have any bets or anything on it?
No. I passed on all of it this
did.
year. I just said I was just going to enjoy it. And I got to be honest with you. Not thrilled Brooks Koepka is running away with this thing right now. No, I mean, a week and a half ago, I wanted to punch him in the nose.
I know. Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
we're the worst you kind of go to you treat Ekblad so bad at a hockey game, the golf gods want to reward you. Is that the way life works?
I love the idea though. Like golf, people complain about, a bunch of rich white guys from the South going out there, whatever. Like, at least this guy's something. He's got personality, even if it's a bad one. He's got one.
There's a part of me, it pains me to agree with you. There's a lot of...
Did you watch the Full Swing doc and see
Yeah,
his...
I did.
Yeah,
I did. There's a lot of people in every industry where you can just go, that guy's a phony.
Yeah.
And at least with Koepka, you don't get that at all.
No.
What you see is what you get.
He's an authentic a-hole.
He's an authentic dick.
Yeah. He is.
Right?
He owns it.
And he's not pretending to be anything he's not.
No.
That is kind of refreshing.
It is. I don't have to root for his general success, but I will say, as someone who has $10 on him at 50 to 1, not hating it.
Oh, you did, eh?
Yeah, I sprinkled tenner on him.
You let him treat Aaron Ekblad like that, and you still bet on him to win.
You know what I do when I bet sometimes? Like, I'll bet against the thing I want to happen least, so if it happens, I get paid out. By the way, Sammy and I made a ton of money when the Canadians beat the Leafs in the playoffs. Betting on the Canadians, just in case we had to feel the pain of the Leafs losing.
Too bad the Leafs are going to be a big favorite against Tampa this year.
That's the strategy,
Yeah.
eh? To betting.
I call it a
win-win.
happiness hedge. If I don't get the outcome I want, at least they pay me. I don't know. It's a really cynical strategy.
So you're paying for your happiness.
Yeah. It's like if I lose that money, if I lose 10 on Brooks, at least I don't have to watch him win. I'm okay with that.
All right. Terrific show. Excited to be here.
TBD.
There's something kind of nice about quiet building, quiet roads, just us hanging out, talking for the next 2 hours. I'm okay with
I
it.
tell you, our bosses aren't listening, so you can say whatever you want.
Well, I wanted to check in with them today. They weren't here. I was surprised.
Nobody's here.
A lot of parking spots.
And it
Please
is
don't say
off,
whatever you want.
and it is off the rails Friday, which we love, which can only mean one thing. Doug McLean in about 40 minutes. Also in the second hour, Ken Hitchcock, fourth winningest coach in NHL history. He's going to be joining us. He's still doing a little bit of consulting with the St. Louis Blues. We'll find out what happened to them and what's going on in the Western Conference. We know he watches a ton, and last time we had him on the show, really enjoyed listening
really
to him.
thoughtful hockey guy.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you guys, besides Friday, we're going to take some tweets or some texts and some tweets. Where are they calling in?
You can text 590-590. You can @ Sam A. McKee on Twitter, or you can, YouTube chat as well.
Comment on YouTube as well.
Comment on YouTube.
And
Okay.
At me on there, Sam McKee.
And just as a little bit extra, like some whipped cream and maybe a little cherry on top to close out this week, I asked my buddy Stephane Matteau if he could join us around 4:30 Eastern time.
Matteau.
Matteau. And I we're going to talk hockey. And I say, no. I just want to hear about you, the time that you played in Augusta.
You played Augusta?
Yeah, he played Augusta. So I want to hear his experience as we drool watching it on the monitor from afar here.
You know who else has played Augusta? Jerry D. He went to cover it once for us and won the lottery.
And Rory McIlroy finishes off a +5 2 days at the Masters and will not be part of the weekend. The betting favorite bows out.
Wow.
All right.
Freddie Couples still battling, though. My boy, my all-time favorite golfer, Freddie Couples.
Using a yellow ball. Tough
Even
luck for
par,
the guy.
about to roll one in for par.
Okay.
All right,
let's
sorry.
Crank her up here. Toronto and Boston last night. Did it serve its purpose? We knew the odds were totally stacked for the Toronto Maple Leafs to end up with home ice. So other than that, not much to play for. We know now today there's nothing to play for in the next 4 games for the Leafs. But did last night do anything for you sitting here today, despite a 2-1 overtime loss?
Yeah, it did a couple of things for me. You know, I'll start with a positive, which is I thought that was a really well played hockey game last night from a coaching system structure standpoint. You know, the way you want a team to look, I thought it looked really organized. There was no room. Like if you're a fan, you might have said that was low event or uninteresting or whatever. A really well played game, I thought. On the other hand, they generated jack squat. And so that is the negative side of the positive is how do you create when you're being conservative, playing defense, all that stuff?
I didn't see anything you saw last night.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I usually make sure the best shows.
So I'm not
We
going
do
to say
not
anything
agree.
most because I want to get Sammy's view, and then we can all pile on.
Okay.
Sammy, what did you see last night?
I saw 2 really good teams playing a somewhat meaningless game, and I thought they looked really evenly matched for a lot of the game. It would be my general oversight of the game. I thought it was a playoff-style game in terms of the physicality, tightness, and I thought the Leafs were up to it. So that's what would be my overall thought before we get to you, Kyper.
All right. For me, before we get into anything, I'm just happily surprised how hard teams are playing in general. Before we go into Toronto and Boston, just in general, watching, and we're going to get in a lot more on detail of what we saw out of Ottawa and Florida last night.
Yeah.
But guys are playing hard to the point where guys are getting hurt. That's how hard they're playing. And last night was an example with Charlie McAvoy not finishing the game. So kudos to all the teams right now that they could easily mail it in, and they're not.
Yeah.
You lack of the juice.
Yeah, lack of the juice. So I think it's just a week and change out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think it's a good sign.
Tampa last night.
Yes.
It was a.
Just so we won't be distracted anymore, the horn has blown for weather at Augusta, so we're not missing anything.
Come on,
fellas.
8 minutes into our show, no golf.
No
what
golf.
a gift.
There we go.
What a
There
gift.
we go.
Yes, but last night, I think I sent to our group chat a text at one point. Janot left the game for Tampa. His leg looked like not good.
Oh,
Hey, you guys saw that? Saw it fold
Yeah.
under him?
Joe Theismann-esque.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
And who else on Tampa? Chernak was out.
Sorelli's out.
Sorelli was out.
Maroon.
left the game.
So-
Like, you don't know who's going to play, but these are, you get hurt now. You're feeling it in 10 days.
Yeah.
So-
So all the more reason for the Leafs to take them lightly and lose.
So
Jeez.
in saying that, I didn't get the sense of a good game, even coaching system wise. I didn't see that.
No.
Loved the goaltending. The 2 best players on the ice, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Samsonov and Swayman. But it was one of those games where I think it was a meat and potatoes game.
Yep.
The Stars were the 3rd and 4th line guys on each respective club. I thought the Stars struggled. I thought
Yes.
all of them, from Bergeron, Marchand, Willie, Tavares, they all struggled.
Yeah.
Collectively, I think they were 0 for 7 on the power play. There was nothing crisp.
The Leafs had 2 shots and 3 power plays.
We're going to get into that.
Blech.
Yeah, as well. But so as far as what you saw from your 3rd and 4th liners, Let's start with Lafferty. Okay.
Standing O.
Yes. And here we were during the whole season with the concern on your third and fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are today.
Yeah.
And no concern for third and fourth lines for the Leafs, but maybe a little concern for 1 and 2.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I thought the line of Tavares, Nylander, Marner was awful. Like, just not that like they turned the puck over a bunch or but just nothing happened. Like, you know, it's almost like, you know, Mitch can pick up anyone on the team, but he can't pick up two guys who are playing crummy. Tavares and Nylander right now can't generate a thing.
What would you say you do here?
I mean, it's just, you can't play that line
Yeah.
together for me. You got to separate Willie and JT. They can't get the puck back, Kip.
So if we go back to the experimenting and then Mitch Marner sits out Sunday against Detroit, he comes back, he can't find anything. No rhythm.
Yeah.
There's just nothing. And I'm not saying, see, I don't have answers. I don't know. I could sit here and say I've been around the game a long, long time. I'm only guessing to tell you that it was a good or bad idea to sit Mitch out on Sunday. And here we are, 4 games to go. And I can't tell you what the right or wrong thing to do is on how you want to approach the games. Do you back off? Do you want to sit guys out? Do you not want to sit guys out?
Yeah.
All I know is Mitch hasn't looked very good since sitting out that one game.
Okay.
And it just seems like there's no rhyme or reason right now for the first 2 lines. I don't know where you go from here on 4, according to the stands, meaningless games. But they have to have some meaning here because your big boys aren't going.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out what the lines are going to be. And I think you can make the case that last night you did get some conclusion. Like that's not the lineup you want to go with. You know, that look last night where you hope Matthews can pull through with a couple of guys who aren't first line guys, you know, create a first line the way that Crosby did with Rust and Gensel.
If you're using those 3 assets to create a line and you're taking them away from other parts of your lineup, you're expecting that baby to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're expecting
That's your super line.
you're expecting that thing to go out there and, you know, win all their minutes and look dominant 5-on-5. And it just felt like they were not really involved a whole lot. Like, I guess on the power play, like they had some looks or whatever. It's a completely different thing, but I don't think it's about Mitch Kyper and him getting rested. It's just way more about JT and Willie for me.
Well, they still haven't rested Tavares, have they?
No, and now that they've clinched home ice advantage,
They're
I would
surely
imagine
going to.
I would imagine that's coming.
Surely they're going
Surely.
to, but he's struggling right now.
Yeah.
So on top of struggling, you're going to take him out, and maybe it is a mindset to reset him.
You got to do something different. It's like jumpstart, you know?
But
it's a defib.
you guys know how I felt. I've been talking about resting him and Gio all season long.
Yeah.
And now you're 4 games to go. He's struggling, and now you want to sit him out. Now it's a negative. Sit him out on a positive. Now it's a negative.
A negative or not, I give these guys a lot of credit for being pros and being able to, you know, we're resting guys. It's the playoffs. Surely you can see the big picture here. You know, give the guys some credit, I think. And I know you and I have had these kind of conversations before, but I think when you sit down, you present it to the guys and say, doesn't mean anything. You're 32.
Yeah.
You're not playing very well.
Yeah.
Let's just sit one out for a night.
Okay. And if he struggles going into game 1, you just hope he hits the switch.
No, you still have 3 games after Saturday night. You have Florida, Tampa Bay, Rangers. Like, he's not going to not have played hockey. I mean, I
Is
think
3 enough to turn him around?
Is 4 enough? If he plays one more, is your point to keep him in?
No, my point is you may have missed the window. That's my point.
I mean, that I'll hear for sure. That's a very real case. And maybe, you know, it should have happened several times in February and March and whatever up till now.
Yeah.
Because
Just sit him until the end of the season.
You would?
Yeah.
Oh God. I don't want him going in like
Listen,
his last regular season thoughts were like, I can't play. I'm no good.
To me, it's not that. It's not about his hands. It's not about his scoring. It's just about the pace.
Legs, yeah.
He just looks like he doesn't have any.
Yeah, but he's smart enough to understand I can't keep up with these young legs, but I can outsmart them.
Week and a half off might help.
Help the old stems a bit.
Like I am really hoping to see some load management down the stretch here.
They're playing the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night in a game that does not matter.
I mean, none of their games matter.
I am curious to see
There isn't
what they
one
dress
game
Saturday.
left. There's not one game left that matters. They're all
I know.
irrelevant.
I just don't necessarily want to see the attitude of just mailing in these 4 games when your power play is struggling
And you don't know who your lines are.
and you don't know who your lines are.
That's the case to keep them in, is you don't know what anyone looks like.
Well, you know what? Like what? You don't know what your lines are, but you could be losing a guy when he gets stepped on his leg in a meaningless game,
Yeah.
right? Like what do you? It's just at this point of the season, it's really hard for me to be.
That can't be your first priority, is to try to bubble wrap these guys, Sammy.
Well,
I'm generally on team, your hockey player
Play
play
all
hockey.
4?
No, not all 4, but I do think I'd be fine to see them rest. Like you do have a back-to-back in here against
Yes.
Florida and Tampa.
The Tampa Bay to me is a throwaway. With everything that Tampa's been through, I don't expect them to play anyone of significance. I really don't. If they do, they'll play 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah.
That one's a throwaway for me.
Okay, well then maybe that's the one. That could be an interesting game. So maybe you use Montreal and Florida to sort your lines out. Say, you play Montreal, Florida, New York.
so you're going to go into Monday night against the Florida Panthers, who just played the greasiest game of the
and
year,
you've
who are
got
fighting for a playoff spot.
And you
Matthew Tkachuk murdering dudes on the ice. You're going to put them out there?
targets, big targets. They're going to play so hard against Toronto. They are fighting for their lives. Like that one, I'm not sure I want to go in.
I feel like you're playing both sides of this. You want guys to not play, but you do want them to play.
I'm just saying that I don't know. I told you I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I'm only just looking back and saying, okay, if it's just for the sole purpose of resting somebody,
Yeah.
I don't know if that you got enough time to do that anymore. Like there's not an urgency for anything except for the guys to start feeling good. Can you accomplish that sitting them out? Can you accomplish that you can get the guys feeling good about their line mates in game 1 or game 2 if you sit them out? Like, can you get the power play feeling good again if you sit Tavares out?
Here's what I know about sitting them out. Right now, there's 10 games till game 1. Toronto or Tampa Bay, 10 days. Tampa Bay has 3 games. The Leafs can play 3 games as well. All those guys can play 3 games, and you're in the same boat as Tampa Bay. You have 4 on the schedule. I don't think missing 1 is going to make anyone out of rhythm or worse or whatever.
No, we got to get them in rhythm, not out of rhythm. They're out of rhythm already. It's to get them back in.
Yeah, I don't know what you want them to do.
Yeah.
And I know
I want
you
them
don't.
to all play together and play well. That's
You
what I
want them to play together,
Yes,
play
and
well,
play
not
well.
get hurt, and be rested.
And start making the necessary adjustments to make your power play better.
I imagine
I want
these
all
are,
of that.
I imagine these are the very conversations they're having about
Yeah.
what do we do next.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
Let's have Keefe give us the overview
Yes.
from last night's hockey match.
Thought our guys played incredibly hard. It took us a little bit to adjust to the opponent. Obviously, it's a much different game here than we've played of late, certainly than we played last game. But I thought our guys played real hard. It's a big point for us.
And they played hard.
They did play hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Earlier in the show, I told you, coaching. Leafs up 1-0 in the third. And did you watch the goal they gave up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was on the ice?
I don't know who's on the ice.
Luke Shen.
Yeah. I know. And that's
That's what
to
you're
me,
gonna say.
that's everybody focuses. Luke didn't get the puck out. Luke,
That
Luke,
play. Yes,
Luke,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Go watch it again. Just watch it again and you tell me who are the forwards and just tell me what you see because you're an
I'm
astute
guessing
guy.
without seeing, it's going to be Nylander flying the zone,
No.
Bunting flying the zone.
No.
Then Tavares?
No.
You tell me who then.
Matthews.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who's in the defensive zone?
Let me guess, Mitch Marner.
No.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I can pull it up here. Pull it up right now.
Keith had out there Matthews, Tavares on the left side, and Willie Nylander on the right.
Matthews, Tavares, Nylander. Okay.
Yes.
So 3 of their 4 best players.
Okay.
Okay.
But not 3 of their best. You're up 1 goal defensive players. And who's the best defensive player on that shift?
Matthews.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm going to blow the zone because I think Luke Schenn is going to get a chip off the glass, and I'm going to go in for a breakaway.
Right.
And I'm going to leave Willie and Tavares out there. And it was, let me tell you, that shift was a dog's breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ugly all around. I got to tell you, John Tavares defensively is questionable.
Well,
No, hold on. My question is, we've never talked about Matthews, Willie, and John Tavares as a line. Never even. Why are they out there 1-0 in the third period?
I imagine this is right after a Boston power play because that's the line he puts out after they PK.
Yeah,
Because they're the 3 fresh guys. Yeah.
But like again, why are they out there? Like, you're up 1-0. You want to make it 2-0. You want to grab them by the throat and bury them. Is that the time now you want to go power up?
I imagine that's the idea. Yeah. Well, Kip, I mean, if you can't put your 3 best players on the ice.
You can't put you can't trust Willie and Tavares and have Matthews blow the zone. That's if I'm Austin, if I'm Sheldon and I've got Austin with those 2 guys on the wings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm telling them?
Hey, you're the guy who's back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm watching this back. There's 2 guys right beside the puck handler with Schenn. Schenn has the puck unpressured, and Matthews is in the zone below the hash marks before he's about to put it off the glass, and he flies because you'd think an NHL defenseman can get the puck out there. They're trying to win the game. Like, Matthews is so responsible defensively.
Okay, stop it, please.
Look at the two guys that are. I'm watching it right now. There's 2 guys with puck support right there.
Okay,
they're flying just as much.
Go back and look at it, please. Okay. Now tell me, you're Luke Schenn now. You have the puck. Stop it right there. Look at his options right now.
Pretty good.
Nah,
Tavares?
That's a dangerous one. Look at Nylander right now. How is Willie helping him?
Yeah, Willie's.
Okay.
I mean, maybe a little bump.
You've got one thing on your mind right now. If you're Luke Schenn, do not put it up in the stands. I'm telling you right now. That one was, do not flirt with throwing it over the glass. So he puts it in a place where he thinks he can get it out, and it just is a disaster here.
You know what's really bad here is he has stopped this puck. Coyle has stopped this puck, or whoever it is at the blue line, and 2 Leafs are in front of them, Tavares and Nylander, right now.
Yeah. Right? And
now they're on the wrong side of the puck.
Can you go take it back and just watch Willie play Carlo the whole shift? That's really his man, right? Carlo has time to look like Devon White in the heyday of the Blue Jays, settling under a lazy fly ball.
So another part of this that you got to give Carlo credit. That's an unbelievable
He's a tall
play.
guy, holds it
full
in,
jump, gets it in a centimeter before it goes out. Like, you got to tip your cap sometimes, Kipper.
No, that's not tipping your cap, bud. That's not playing hard enough against Carlo.
Well, the guy you brought in to literally get the puck off the glass and out didn't do it.
They just had this whole celebration of him getting the puck off the glass. Didn't he talk about Liljegren or someone learning from Schenn, saying, boys, sometimes the glass is a pretty good option? It's like, you better get it out if that's the option.
Willie and Tavares struggling.
They're struggling.
That's not the time to throw Matthews out there with those guys.
I don't agree.
I agree. I don't agree with that.
You got to have the right guys on the ice.
You
and
do,
that
but you're coming off a PK where you would have had Yarncroc and Marner and Kerfoot and all those guys would have just played. This is the shift after a PK. They always go with these guys.
Yeah,
if you can't trust those guys, you're in big trouble.
You always go with those guys, and it never really materializes. You load up off a penalty kill with those guys all the time, and it doesn't really work. I
don't know if that's I have no idea.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I can't think of him scoring a whole ton of goals, but
anyways, I mean, this is crunch time. This is getting the right guys out at the right time. I thought I thought Sheldon took a chance with those guys, and it came back to bite them. That's all.
Yep. So it ends up 1-1 at that point. 7 minutes left in the hockey game. They lose in overtime on a David Pasternak shot off a power play. I don't know.
The other thing,
Pasta?
too.
What's he at? 50?
Yeah,
He's
the
got
other thing, too,
57
is
right now.
they cannot win a draw to start overtime.
I know.
Well,
And-
stop overthinking it. Just
No,
put
that
out
right-
Matthews.
he's got Ryan O'Reilly.
Why? Put out the good player. Put out the Hart Trophy guy. Like, you're over the
Mention
yips.
Austin.
You're
Yeah.
over the yips. Just do it.
You got Ryan O'Reilly out there coming off a broken finger. I'm not sure I would have had him out there to
Yeah.
start overtime.
I think it's like, we've been doing this defensive thing. This is sort of a
Yeah.
little bit better than Kampf. Still defensively responsible, but it's
Yeah.
like, Matthews is still drinking
Yeah.
Gatorade on the end of the bench.
And listen, Morgan's settling in a lot better than he's been in the past.
Mhm.
But don't lose your check on Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. It doesn't matter. We know it's 1-on-1.
Yeah.
Box him out. Like, how does he get inside on you and you have to pull him down? No excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's not great. And, you talk about someone you have to be careful with. You see him in those sort of situations where all of a sudden you're in your own D zone. It's, clinch your teeth time.
Yeah.
Not a lot of trust there, I don't think.
Yeah. And Marchand's struggling. Like, when he zigs,
He missed that
should
one
have zagged.
behind the goalie in OT or whatever.
He's still hard to play against, right?
Listen, I didn't think he looked very good at all.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Doesn't have the same pop.
He didn't. I think didn't they say in the broadcast he's gone 13 games without a goal? Like,
Yeah, I mean, he's less than a point per game.
they like there's. It's not the same guys that were scaring me last night. I thought that the top six was kind of canceled out, and it was the bottom six game. Really,
Their D are just so good. Like McAvoy and Lindholm and Orlov
Lindholm
and like
I'm not
their most dangerous guys.
sure how that compares to other games he's played,
Yeah.
but even last night I'm watching him just be a horse out there.
Yeah.
I thought the Leafs' top guys on defense were just as good. Like McCabe and Brody were unbelievable.
You like them,
last
yeah?
night.
Yeah.
Like, I really did. I thought that they stacked up well defensively. I thought Hall was really good last night, taking a
The
beating.
only guys
getting
who
the
felt
puck
like they
out.
did anything up front was the Zach Aston Reese, Lafferty, Kampf line, really. I mean, otherwise
So-
I can't.
What is it the big boys are not doing to generate offense?
Well, for me, it's puck retrieval. To me, I like for years, the best line here has had someone to go get it. Connor Brown went and got it. Zach Hyman went and got it. Kadri was a guy who went and got it. Andreas Janssen used to get it. Like, someone would go get the puck. I look at some of these lines right now with the great players. They don't seem to get to play with it as much. And to me, a lot of that is recovery and just having someone who can go get it on these lines. And Yarncroc and Bunting can do it a little. They should be on different lines, provide an element of that on the first and second line if you like. Other than that, Matthews has got to hunt it. We know Marner's a big takeaway guy, but, you don't want them to have to fish for their own pucks and make the plays all the time, too. You'd like sometimes someone to get it for them.
Did last night for you, Sammy, convince you that Yarncroc and Matthews isn't penciled in for game one together?
I don't know what Matthews' fancy stats were last night, but it seemed like he had the puck quite a bit when he was out there. Like, I felt like he looked like he just has the puck the whole time, I guess, because of who he's playing with. But I thought he had a couple really good shifts in the third, almost scored right at the end. Like, I don't know. He looks really good to me. So watching him play with those two guys, the more and more I watch him play with those guys and the way that Matthews is playing right now, it makes me long to get 16 back with him.
Yeah.
Because the way that Matthews is going and the way that Marner was going before they rested him, now they're playing him with the two guys to try and get him going. Like, I feel like you almost got to have to admit it and just put him back there because that line could be so overwhelming with the way both those guys are playing. Like, it really feels like he's trying to get cute here and spread it out as much as he possibly can when it may not be the best option.
Yeah. I don't know. Just there's so few guys going. Marner and Matthews are the guys right now. Like, O'Reilly's just back. Tavares and Nylander not at their best. So it's tough when you don't have your best players going. And you end up scoring one goal. That's what happens.
A lot of talk about Michael Bunting this week. I wrote an article in the Toronto Star about it. It's almost as if he wants to be now on his best behavior, and it's like one or the other here.
Was it the icing last night where he was going to be first to it and he didn't complain to a ridiculous degree? Is that the one you're thinking of?
I'm just saying that he's completely opposite of what we've seen in the past, and I get it what he's trying to do, but can he still be effective if he's just completely swung the pendulum on the other side?
I said yesterday on our show, like the fact that he's doing this is good. It's part of what he is. He's making you think about him, like he's distracting. He's got that element.
But did you find him engaged last night?
No. I don't want to see that bunting. I don't want unengaged bunting. I'll take angry yelling at the refs bunting.
Yeah.
It swung too far.
It's hard.
It swung too far.
That's a tough job, isn't it?
It's really hard. And I do feel
him?
for him a little bit. No, not man. It's just for him to find that sweet spot on where he can be effective, when he can chirp, when to back off, when to push.
Mm-hmm.
And right now he's just completely closed off.
Yeah. Of the conversations we're going to have today, I do want to have the Shen one beyond the one play where, maybe not a big deal, maybe is a big deal or whatever. Because let's be honest, when we all talk about the game off the air, we're all kind of like some concerns, about his skating.
Foot speed.
There are some concerns there.
I love the guy. He's no good last night.
There's definite moments where it's like, I love that element he brings and I love that physicality. But yeah, there's a reason was healthy on his way to the Cups half the games. I'm curious to see how often he's in. I think he'll start in. I don't know if he'll stay in.
When he had success when he won the Stanley Cup in Tampa, it was in and out. Yeah. It was playing 10, 12 minutes, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
But you got to have a defensive core that is really settled. And I think the Leafs are doing a lot better of a job, going into these last 4 games with that blue line. And you mentioned the guys that had a strong game. It's just a matter of now Sheldon finding his sweet spot with Luke.
Mm-hmm. I can see it being a thing like last year when they started kind of heavier guys in game 1 and 2. Like, I've said this for a while now, but I can see them being like, all right, then Liljegren's going to play. Like I can see. So it's important, I think, that Liljegren gets some games, assuming he's your next guy in and not Gustafsson. But I am assuming that Gustafsson's going to get in the next game because he hasn't played hockey in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen any lines or anything, but I think it's a fairly safe bet that we see Gustafsson on Saturday night.
As encouraged as I was by what I saw from the bottom 6 guys in a playoff style, gritty defensive game, I'd say I was equally as discouraged what I saw from Shen in that same style of game.
Yeah.
Where
for sure.
I didn't think
you can't be that surprised. Sammy.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Right?
Listen, but you think of, it's a different matchup than Tampa. I think maybe Boston's a little bit more pace around their lineup maybe than Tampa does. I know Tampa's got a couple guys that can fly, but in general, I think maybe you'd say that Boston's a faster team. I just felt like they got hemmed in a bunch when he was on the ice last night. Like even the first shift of the game, it felt like they were in the Leaf zone for 2 minutes and he was kind of standing around the net. Like it's going to be tough.
He does a lot of sagging so he doesn't get beat. Like he retreats to the front of the net, to the middle of the ice, so guys kind of have room to play around the outside, which is fine, right? They're not getting to the dangerous areas, but it makes for a lot of hockey in your end.
Yeah.
Okay. Best sign of the night in a 2-1 loss in overtime.
Ilya.
Are you going to ask me?
Samsonov.
Yeah, I thought he looked awesome.
Which is really
good.
Maybe the most important.
Yeah,
I would say that's the final nail in he's the guy coffin game 1.
I think that nail had been driven home the second Matt Murray took a tumble.
Any updates on him? No.
Okay. He's not on long term. I know Elliot Friedman, our Elliot, has talked about perhaps maybe it being a little tricky on his contract. And
what?
I think it might have to do with like the bonuses and how it affects the cap.
Oh, like if he plays more hockey?
First of all, I think Wall's on the Murray situation has kind of made it a little cloudy, I think,
okay.
on contracts. So I think it might be a little tricky. I don't think it. From the people that I've talked to, I don't think it's a huge issue, and they will be able to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
But obviously, with Wall up, which even if he's on an emergency basis, has kind of thrown a little bit of a wrench on fitting Knies' contract in.
All righty. Well, that's interesting.
So-
Something we'll keep an eye on.
Wow.
Speaking of contracts, Matthew Knies won his game yesterday.
Mhm.
So he will be playing in the final for the national championship tomorrow.
against Quinnipiac, who beat Michigan.
Good call by Books.
So what'd you like about Samsonov then, Cap?
I just think he's real confident right now,
Mhm.
and he's just there for you. And it's not a fish out of water. There seems to be some calmness in his game now.
Mhm.
He's not, for me, he's not even scrambling as much as I've seen him in the past.
Yeah. It just looks like he has settled in. He's confident, knows he's the guy, and looks like the guy, which is nice.
Yeah, rebound controls, not a lot of second chances.
Yeah.
Feels like he's good enough, right? Like it just feels like he's good enough. We'll see once the playoff starts, but it feels like he's good enough.
Okay,
Should we
let's get Sheldon Keefe on his number one goaltender.
Yeah, I don't know yeah, he's solid. Very solid. Like I said, there's not a lot of offense to go around for either team here tonight. Both teams defended incredibly hard. But he was solid, didn't let anything in that he shouldn't. And games like this, that's what you're asking for.
That's it.
Solid and simple.
So, 4 games left. Give me your Samsonov, which in and which out.
4 games left. How about you want him in twice? Is that enough for you guys? Twice? How about Florida and the Rangers? Last game of the year. Montreal and Florida? I don't know, guys. What do you think?
I think he plays the last game of the year,
Think so?
right? You want to put him in there in the last game of the year, and then I'd say he plays against Montreal. So he's going to play, but you don't want to show him Tampa. So I don't know how you balance it.
I don't know. I have no idea.
This is the all-time solving nothing day.
Well-
Nothing.
Wall plays Saturday for sure.
See, yeah, maybe he's been so good he doesn't need that. Maybe I'm leaning with Sammy a little bit. Maybe he's been
On
so
Samsonov?
good. Samsonov's been good, so good at home that you don't need another home start.
He
for
just
him.
hasn't played. He also just had a newborn. Like, I wonder if they're gonna I don't know, let him think about something else for a minute here.
So does he play Florida or Tampa Bay?
Not Tampa. I ain't showing him to Tampa.
Why? You just showed him in Boston.
Yeah, it's different
Why?
because you're not seeing Boston for a couple weeks.
No.
If you do.
No, I don't. I'm a
You're
lot
fine with
more
it?
comfortable with Samsonov going against Tampa based on what he did against Boston.
The only reason I think it might be good is for him
Crawl
to
in
be
his
like,
head.
well, and to be like, here's a dress rehearsal for what it's going to be like
It's a freebie.
in Tampa Bay. Here's what the crowd looks like. Here's where the building is. Here's where its shots look like. It's reps, you know. So yeah. So
It's
as
a
a guy,
freebie.
yeah, as a guy who's
Get used to
Been-
this building.
yeah.
Get used to everything that you just mentioned.
Yep, there's a lightning thing up there that makes a sound when they score on
They're
you.
not- they're hit and miss. They're inconsistent. They're hurt.
Oof.
Right? They're hurting.
Yeah, but
I
they also,
can't believe
they
I'm
also
so
have,
excited for this playoff series.
they also have a bunch of guys who are like, oh, we're playing against that, and that's the only healthy goalie. Killorn, I'm going to jam you in the you-know-where.
Oh man, that's a really good point. That's a greasy team. Here comes Perry.
Yeah,
here comes Hagel. Here comes Killorn.
Listen, just learn to deal with it. It's coming anyways.
Yeah, but
All right, then dress Simmons and Shen.
Yes.
And all right, here's our Tampa game. Then
Yes.
it's going to be Simmons, Shen, McCabe, Lafferty,
Thank you.
Achari. Call up Clifford.
Yeah, call up. Who else punches down there? Call him up.
Can we get Punchy Douglas back?
Hey, great point. Get Clifford in.
Get him back. He's playing third line on the Marlies.
Get him up here. Let him punch. It's punching time.
Now we're starting to solve some things.
There is going to be a brawl in that Tampa Leafs game.
Blech.
Good. It'll bring them together.
Yeah, a little hootenanny never hurt.
Just
Okay.
Mitch and Bogosian going toe to toe at center ice.
You know who can verify all of this? Doug McLean, former NHL president, GM, and the headliner on Off the Rails Friday. Back after these words.
real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Also on the program, Ken Hitchcock. We're going to track down Stephane Matteau, former teammate of mine from 1994 Stanley Cup Rangers. He's going to tell us all about Augusta playing.
Amazing.
Where the whole golf world is watching today. You know who else I bet is watching since his renewed love for the game of golf? Our next guest, Doug McLean. Every time he shoots like an 80, he has to let me and the whole world know.
What's Doug's cap?
I don't know. Ask him.
Doug, what's your cap?
What do you mean cap?
Your
Handicap. We're cool. We just say cap.
Seriously. Like, seriously.
It was
It's
20.
It was 27 when the day I walked into Rogers.
Okay.
It was 27.
Hold on, time out.
Tell this guy to phone. I've got an echo in my ear.
Okay, we're going to call you back. We're going to call you back.
Again?
Sammy, call him back. Sammy always...
The Doug call is always
Doug's
one.
is always challenging. One day, Sammy's going to fix this.
That's because he's always on like a speedboat in the Hawaiian Riviera or something. Mayan Riviera? Not somewhere. I don't know. He is.
I think
Not here.
maybe a glass of wine might have more to do with it than anything.
Yeah, that's probably related. Have you played golf with Doug, I assume?
Actually, maybe once.
That's funny that it's
in Prince
yeah.
Edward Island, maybe
Yeah.
like 12 years ago, 15 years ago. A lot more with you and Sammy lately.
Yeah, okay.
But he loves it. Who doesn't?
Yeah. We need a pickleball version of golf, maybe.
So are they playing again? Are they back up?
Back up at Augusta. Back playing Tiger, even par in the day. 2 over for the tournament. T50 and the top 50 make the cut. So he is on the line right now.
Okay. You're telling us how great you are at golf.
The day I walked into Rogers, I had a 27 handicap.
Yeah. And then you got fired from Rogers, and now what's your handicap?
No, I didn't get fired. I didn't get my contract renewed.
Okay. All right.
Now it's 10.
Are you watching the Masters?
Well, I just got back up from the pool there. I did my 35-minute swim, so I just up from the pool. I have it on here now, yeah.
So between the pool and the Masters and the golf, you got time to watch hockey lately? Florida and, say, Ottawa last night? That's right in your backyard.
No, I didn't watch that one. I watched the Leafs in Boston.
All right, let's start there. Enough for you to sit there and say, if in fact Toronto and Boston meet in the second round, that, hey, Toronto doesn't match up that poorly against them.
I would just calm down a little if I was you, and let's see how they do in the first round.
Half of Tampa's teams on the shelf right now. Leafs in 5.
That's who you're picking, the Leafs in 5?
What do you think?
You know what? I liked their game last night. I liked the Leafs game last night. I thought they really played well. I mean, their third and fourth lines. Finally, I mean, we've talked about this for 4 years about the third and fourth line. And today, what is it, a month ago we said that just put O'Reilly on the third line, set up a third line that can play against Nick Paul and company, and let's get on with this. So then I watched last night, and they've got Tavares with Marner and Nylander, and they've got Matthews with Yarncroc and somebody else.
Bunting.
Like, seriously, does Tavares need both these guys playing with them? I mean, come on, get it set up. Like, are they going to go into the playoffs with Marner, Nylander, and Tavares on one line? Are they serious?
Do you think that would be a bad thing for them if they try to load up a line like that? Like, I know that is a little bit of the conversation is, even with Ryan O'Reilly, if you swap him in on that line somewhere, do you like the idea of putting 3 of their bigger guys on a line or no?
But you're loading up a line, except you're missing one thing on the load. Your best player. He's not on the loaded up line. That's Matthews. That's like putting McDavid with McLeod and Derek Ryan.
Good point.
Fair.
Seriously. I mean, Matthews tried like a bugger last night to make a couple things happen, but, I mean, he was on an island last night. And then you look at the ice time that the big loaded-up line got, they were around 14 minutes. Like, what is this? I mean, I love the way he's trying to get his third and fourth line together. I get that, but why not just, like, Tavares and Nylander, do they have to be on the same line? Can you not give Tavares one of them and Matthews one of them? So you've got, all of a sudden, you've got four lines that can play. You know, it's like their power play. I mean, the power play is going to be the most critical thing against Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay's taken a lot of penalties, and their penalty killing's no good lately. Hasn't been good all year. So is it 79%, and it's been terrible the last 3 weeks. So now you got this power play that comes out with the big five on it, Morgan Riley and four other guys. And if Tampa can kill the first minute, there's nothing coming on the second power play. Ryan O'Reilly and who on the second power play? So Tampa's got to kill a minute 10, and then they're okay. They can survive. So I just don't get why he doesn't balance it out a little. It's not that complicated, is it? Now, maybe they'll win with it like this. I don't know. I mean, and then they put Ryan O'Reilly. I don't mind Ryan O'Reilly moving up from the third line every once in a while, but come on, put him on the third line. Make it their best third line in 10 years. Make it their best third line in 10 years that you can play in the playoffs with that third line. Because third lines are critical to winning at playoff time.
I think the concern for Sheldon Keefe right now is that your third line might be better than your second line if it's Tavares and Nylander. They are struggling, Mac, and he's got 4 games to either get them feeling good about themselves or it's a real challenge going into Tampa, the Tampa series, with those two guys not cranking.
Okay, so is putting Marner with them going to change them, or are they going to have 3 guys struggling? That's my question. Are you going to have 3 guys struggling?
Yeah.
Because right now, I mean, and then you may have Matthews struggling if you play him with who you're playing him with. I mean, that's not a recipe to win. So I look, Matthews, does he need Marner, Matthews?
Listen,
I know Tavares needs Marner. Tavares probably needs Marner, doesn't he?
I would think that that's what they think.
Okay, so what about Nylander with Matthews and Bunting?
It's probably where it ends up.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Because, I mean, they played really well last night. They really checked well. I mean, Swayman had to make, 5 saves? 5 big saves?
They were good. Both goalies were great.
5 good saves. You know, I thought Samsonov was good. I didn't think the Bruins, the Bruins are missing a couple of really important guys on their lineup. And then they lose McAvoy partway through the game. The Bruins did not look great last night. The Leafs played well. The Leafs have a chance to beat Tampa Bay. I really believe that. I said that 2 weeks ago on this show, or 3 weeks ago. They have a chance to beat them. Don't screw it up with trying to be cute. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think some rest for a guy like Tavares would help him? Like, they got 4 games left. Tampa has 3 left. Would you like to see him sit out, or do you feel like he's got to play his way through these struggles here?
Well, I mean, I don't. Tavares is a pro. He doesn't want to sit out. And when push comes to shove, I think Tavares will be there at playoff time. I'll be really surprised if he's not there at playoff time. Don't jeopardize the team because John Tavares is struggling. Don't screw up 2 lines because John Tavares is struggling. John Tavares is a big boy. He's making $11 million. Play your way out of it and try to put the right lineup with him. But putting Marner and Nylander there, in my opinion, is a bad move. It makes no sense to me. And leaving your biggest horse, who, if he isn't going, Matthews, they're not going to win the series. If Matthews isn't going, and he hasn't been going a lot of the season, I'd be more worried about Matthews on top of his game than I would be Tavares.
We're talking to Doug McLean, former NHL president, GM, and head coach. As far as the 4 games remaining, it's Montreal at home, then Florida back-to-back before they close out the Rangers. How many games does Samsonov need? 2 is enough for you? And if they are, where would you start him, Florida or Tampa Bay?
I'd start him in Florida. And I wouldn't play him against Tampa Bay. I just rest him in the Tampa Bay game. And not you don't want to, it's given them a look they don't need on Samsonov, although they study him. I get all that. But you don't want Samsonov going in there and getting beat by Tampa Bay. I know it would be great if he goes in there and wins, but if he loses, I just don't think it's a good start to the next couple of weeks. So I wouldn't use him against Tampa. But I'd use him against, obviously, he should play 2 of the 4 games.
Or that sort of role have in lineup decisions, roster construction, all that stuff as a team like the Leafs heads towards the playoffs?
I didn't hear the intern screwed up the mic again. I didn't hear the first part of the question.
I'm just wondering how much a GM and or president, how much say they would have in how the team rolls out their personnel in game 1.
Well, if it's Tortorella, Briere would be, at least they'd be able to communicate sitting next to each other in the press box since Torts doesn't coach anymore. What is that all about? Seriously.
It's hilarious.
But anyway, that's for another day. Look, I think that it's a group thing. I mean, Keefe is should make the call on it. I mean, to me, he's the coach. He should make the call, but I got to believe it would be a combination of management and Keefe trying to come up with a consensus as how to be best prepared. I would probably listen to Brendan a little more than I'd listen to Kyle for playoff preparation because Shanahan had a fair amount of experience with it. But still, I mean, I think it's a group decision, and they'll have a pretty good feel who needs a little bit of a break and who doesn't here. But I mean, their focus is this is a great opportunity with the way Tampa Bay's injured and struggling combination. I mean, if they can get to Vasilevsky, they can win this series. And they need Samsonov to be a star every night to win the series, in my opinion. He better be really, really good. He has been most of the season, but the playoffs are the playoffs. Big difference. But he looks like he's ready. He looked solid last night, and you can tell he's on top of his game, and he feels really good about his game just by his comments. So, it's got the makings of a really interesting series. I mean, they can, they've got a chance here. I don't know about the second round. Like you're talking second round already. Let's get through the first and see what happens.
Shaping up, Mac, for an interesting week as we talk about the third and fourth line kind of settling in for the Leafs. We all expect Matthew Knies to show up, a star from Minnesota, Hobey Baker finalist. If, in fact, he's signed and the promise is to burn a year off his deal, where do you see the fit in all your experiences having a kid join a team late in the season? Was it always well received? Or was there a sense, how much can a college kid come in and help right away?
I think he'll give the Marlies a chance to get out of the first round.
Jeez.
Like, seriously, they're not serious. Like, I heard Elliott say that last night. He'd like to see him on a line with somebody. I thought, oh, Elliott, give me a break. Enough PR. Forget the PR talk, I actually sent him a note on it. Like, he wasn't. I said, you're not serious about that guy. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Mac,
but
he's
anyway,
6'2" and 210.
Give him his one game and let him burn it off, and then see if you've got some injuries. You're going to actually play one of your best games of the year, and you're going to break up You're going to break up that bottom 6 to put him in there. You're not serious right now. If they need him, if somebody gets hurt, if somebody gets injured, which is going to happen, and he's your best guy to go in, but that's asking a lot for a kid that's Hobey Baker, Bobby Barker. I don't care what he's won. This is the National Hockey League playoffs against a team that's really good, and for a team that cannot afford to lose a series or heads are going to roll. So give him his one game, one of the Florida games, see how he does, and then go from there. But I wouldn't be using him unless you had to. I think what are you going to take? Rafferty out? You're going to take Austin Reese out? You're going to take Yarn? Who are you going to take out to put him in?
How much of this, you got to do some management with this guy's ego a little bit too, right? Like it's Toronto media. They've been talking about playing with Matthews, like he's been all this hype. You mentioned
Not according to Mac.
Winning the Bob Barker Award for The Price is Wrong or whatever it was you mentioned in there. He's got all these trophies. You got to sit the kid down and be like, hey, there's some ego management to do, right?
And I guess it's happened where guys have come in and really done well, but I think it happens over time. I think it happens if you need a guy, if there's injuries, or if somebody's playing horrible and he's your next best guy to go in. But first of all, the pressure on him, no pressure on playing him in Florida in one of the final games to see how he does. But to put him with a Matthews or to put him up in the lineup, there's chemistry involved in all this stuff. It's team building. It's something the Leafs have been disastrous at for the last 7 years, is building a team. And finally, it looks like they have a team and they're going to do this. You guys are joking, right?
Tell us how you really feel and do not sugarcoat it.
Hey, Matthew, I hear he's a really good player. But come on, you finally looks like you have a team and you're going to tinker? Oh, my God. Anyway, that's just my own thoughts. Hey, you know what? If he comes in game 5 or 6 of the playoffs and he's a star and he plays the rest of the way, good on him, great. But it's a disservice right now to the group that have 103 points, and it's a disservice to the kid to stick him in there, in an important role at this particular time until you're really, see what you've got. Anyway. I know college hockey is good, but big difference between the Tampa Bay Lightning and playing Mankato or Minnesota Duluth. Anyway.
He just sunk everyone in Leaf Nation on Matthew Knies.
Yeah. All right, let's move it off the Toronto Maple Leafs, shall we?
Yes.
All right.
What did Hitch have to say? What did Hitch have to say about it? I'd love to see him. He wouldn't even play veterans, let alone a college guy.
We'll ask him in the next hour. Don't worry.
What are your thoughts on
say hello to Hitch for me?
Oh, I will. Don't you worry.
Doug, the turtle race in the West. What are your thoughts on the Flames and the Jets mutually trying to miss the playoffs? Someone has to get in.
Yeah, I know. It's really. I mean. I really like Daryl and I really like Rick. I mean, I'm torn. I watched that game the other night, and geez, neither one of them really want to win. But I don't know what has gone wrong with both those teams. Like both those teams, that Winnipeg team was in first place, not in October. In January, they were in first place.
Yeesh. And
Calgary, I mean, they have blown more easy games than you can imagine. I just don't get it. I hope. I mean, I don't know who I'd like to see get in. I know who I'd like to see miss, but I'm not sure who I'd like to see get in. But anyway, hopefully, I don't know. It's a not. I mean, look at the schedule. It's kind of even, but both of them deserve.
I kind of want to know who you want to see miss.
Well, I don't really.
Mac, is it always the same from any era, or does it feel like there's more pressure on management teams to win? And I'm not suggesting that Daryl or Tree Living, they'll get fired, shovel day off, Rick Bonus, but are they feeling anything more than, say, coach or general managers felt, 20, 30 years ago?
Look, you know what? There's 207 general managers in the history of the National Hockey League. In over 100 years, there's only been 207 general managers.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
That's hard to believe. That's hard to believe, isn't it? That's how hard it is to get one of those jobs. Yeah, sure, you're worried about your job. There's no doubt you're worried about your job. And it's not easy to get another one. When I just make that comment, in over, 105, 107 years, 207 general managers. So, yeah, people worry about their jobs. And those two teams, they should be worried because they're both good. They've done both. Tree Living and Chevy, in my opinion, have done a good job building those teams. Build it through the draft, some good pickups in tough situations where guys were free agents and walking. Both you would have thought had great goaltending that would have got each of their teams. And who would ever believe that Markstrom and Hellebuck wouldn't have got those two teams in the playoffs this year? And right now, it looks like one of them's getting in, MVP type goaltenders. So anyway, I don't know. It's frustrating. You're right. They're worried about their jobs. There's no doubt they're worried about their jobs. Tree Living's contract's up. I don't know what Chevy's is. I don't know if he's got a lifetime deal or not with the owner, but maybe he does.
A lifetime deal sounds good.
With me and JB here, you're talking to a couple of authors. Do we have to officially welcome you into the book club here? Is it true that Amazon now has Draft Day by Doug McLean and Scott Morrison?
They have it available on Amazon, but I think to do its service, go on Simon & Schuster and just look it up, the book, Draft Day with Doug McLean, or Draft Day with myself and Scott Morrison, and just have a look at what it says about the book and what it says about the author, and then make your decision whether you're going to put out $28 and buy it or pay $15 and get it on Kindle, instead of me discussing it. But I think it's going to be an interesting book. I think it's going to be it's all about the draft. It's all about all of the history of, not the history of the draft, but about a lot of different drafts and scenarios that happen. So I think it's going to be an interesting read for some people,
So no soul searching like our books.
Tell Hitch he's in it. And tell him I said he's in it, and not in a very complimentary way.
Oh, yeah, no. You pass that one on to him yourself. No,
and then after a few minutes, just say, Doug's kidding. You're not even mentioned in it.
So you go through. Are you going through the history of the draft?
No, I'm not. I'm just talking about different draft scenarios and stories and what it's like, preparing the list and at the table and at the podium and, putting your list together. And then I talked about the Zverev draft and about, the Nash draft and a lot of my personal stories just around the draft and why we made certain decisions and why other teams made certain decisions. And it's kind of just a lot of different draft stories and stuff. So I think it's just, I've said all along, and history has shown that since 1995, if you don't have 10 draft picks on your team, that's up until last year with Colorado's win. If you don't have 10 of your own draft picks on the team, you don't win the Stanley Cup. Right now, the Leafs have 4 or 5, maybe. I don't know what it is. I don't think Dubas has one draft pick of his own on the team, does he?
Yeah, he's had a little bad luck there.
Yeah, a little bad luck. But, it's interesting. And is that going to change, with free agency, the way it's become? But it hasn't up until last year. If you don't have 10 picks on your team, you don't win the Cup. So we'll see. I looked last night. Boston have 12 of their own picks on their team. Rangers are right up there. Jersey have got 11 or so on their team, of their own picks. So it's going to be interesting to just look at the end of this year and see if that holds true, as it has for the last 30 years. So anyway, there's some interesting stories.
Quickly,
it's kind of a fun book.
We got to go to break here, but quickly, you didn't crap all over analytics, right? You didn't crap all over analytics because JB has swung me over a little bit.
I did a chapter on analytics, and I'll tell you what a guy told me. He said, you go out for dinner. You go out for a great steak dinner. And the guy will say, analytics isn't a steak. It's not the potatoes. It's not the vegetables, but it might be the salt and pepper you put on.
I don't know what that means.
I like that.
That's giving it credit. I think it's a great tool, and I sort of did a chapter on it and got the real scoops from presidents, from GMs, from coaches as to what they really think of analytics. I love John Madden's quote, the former baseball quote. He said I don't want my analytics guys in my dugout. I don't want them in my dressing room. And I just want them to tell me what time it is. I don't want to know how the watch was built.
I love that. Yeah.
So I think it's a really honest, fair chapter on analytics, and I sort of gave a lot of guys were scared. Nobody would be quoted. Not one GM or president would be quoted on analytics because they're scared to tell the truth about it.
How
But
hockey
it's a
teams pick winners or get left behind. It's Draft Day by Doug McLean. Okay.
But it's a great tool. I believe in it. And it's going to become real important.
Looking
no
forward
doubt
to the
about
book.
Guys, thanks for having me on, and give my best to Hitch and tell him he's not. Gary Bettman's mentioned once in the book, and Hitch isn't mentioned at all.
Okay, we'll pass on your words. Hey, Mac, thanks for doing this, man.
Take care, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Mac. Appreciate
Thanks for throwing it off the rails. Never disappoints us.
No.
Okay, we're going to go to break because we're way past the third base stop sign.
Yes, sir.
On that one. Back with Ken Hitchcock after the break and Stephane Matteau, who played at Augusta. We're going to get his thoughts on
Beautiful.
how great that course is. More after this.
Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Okay, from one ex-Columbus Blue Jacket to another, let's welcome in Ken Hitchcock. We've had Ken on the show before. It's been great. Thanks for making time for us, Ken. How are you?
Good, guys. How are things going in Toronto these days?
Well, not bad. You know, we just had Doug McLean on, and he's at his ball-busting best, and he's got a book out called Draft Day, and couldn't figure out whether or not me or you made the cut in the book. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But you got to give me one Doug McLean story I could take back to him, please.
Well, I really enjoyed my time with him because he is and was so passionate and not afraid to take risks, and he really saw things because he was a coach before. He saw things in players that other people couldn't see, and especially from a competitive standpoint. And so if he saw a player with skill and he didn't like his edge that he brought, he was all over that. Like he would say, we're not taking this guy, or we're not selecting this guy, or he's not going to make our team because he doesn't have big enough balls to play.
Well, we get that sense every week when we talk to him. But moving forward here on coaches in general, you've been down so many stretches in a regular season, and once you've locked up, treating those last 3, 4, 5 games, Hitch, what did you always look for that was the most important thing when you knew who you were playing or who had home ice advantage?
Nick, it was always structure. Like, you can amp up the temperature of your team. You can amp up the edge that you want to play with. You can put more second and third effort in, but if your structure starts to wane, you can't catch that back during a playoff series. So when I knew we were locked in, I tried to downplay what position we got because the players weren't really concerned. They didn't care who we played, but I was really focused on making sure that systematically we were playing the right way. So when we had to dial it up, we could.
As the Leafs head towards their first-round matchup with the Tampa Bay Lightning, they still can't quite figure out how they want to deploy their top lines, their big guys. They're still kind of tinkering with things down the stretch. Do you think that is a negative? Are you okay with them still tinkering right now? Like, if you were coaching, how would you want things to be going for them?
I really like the way they play. I really like the way they compete. So I don't really think that he's going to tweak. Sheldon's going to tweak when he has to, but I love the way they compete and the edge that they play with. And they play through people. They're a much different team this year than they've ever been. And I like the way that they play right through you. And I think that's going to be a huge advantage come playoff time because they're going to need it to get through Tampa, and they're going to certainly need it to be competitive against Boston. But they don't take anything back from either one of those teams when they play, and I don't think that's going to change during the playoffs.
Hitch, you mentioned structure as being the most important, but where does ice time come in? Where does trying to protect your players? We've seen so many injuries in the last 24 hours, in the last week, and how do you balance all that out? And then there's egos, Hitch, where some guys may think, hey, listen, I'm this close to 100 points. I want to get 100 points. Like, where does that all fit in?
Well, Nick, I can tell you out west, because I watched so much of it, there's 2 teams that are healthy now, Dallas and Edmonton. Everybody else is banged up. And some are banged up beyond belief, like, missing 5. Like, look at L.A. I think 10 days ago, everybody thought L.A. could win everything. Now they're missing 6 players. You look at a team like Vegas. They've been banged up all year. They've been missing 3, 4, 5 top players. So I think health is number one, keeping your players healthy is number one. And number two, you've got to find a third line. You've got to find a third line that you can play against anybody, at any time, any place. Because if you don't have that, your first two saw off, and then there's a real big disadvantage. So I think trying to put together a third line, I liked what Toronto did when they had O'Reilly playing on the third line. That was really good. You look at Edmonton's third line; they're starting to be productive. You look at Vegas's third line; they're really productive. That's what you're looking for: is do we have real depth in scoring, or do we just have people that can take up minutes on the ice?
So, Hitch, this is a time of year where coaches have to get their players prepared to play a playoff series, and that can take a lot of meetings, I would imagine. You know, whether it's your own structure, your upcoming opponent's structure, the personnel. What sort of meetings would you have with your team in the week or so leading up to a playoff series?
Justin, it would be before a week. So it would be, if we knew we were in the playoffs, it'd be somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks in advance. And I would be practicing 6-on-5 every day. I would be practicing line matchups every day. So if I was thinking that in the first series there was going to be a line matchup, I would want to practice that both at home and on the road and get the players used to it. Because you know what happens, and Nick, you've seen this before, when you all of a sudden want a line match in playoffs and the players aren't used to it, they get pissed off. And they lose their edge, they lose their focus. So if you think you're going to do it, then you got to prepare for it weeks in advance. And I'd be doing all that stuff. I wouldn't telegraph it and I wouldn't show it, but if I thought I was going to change my power play to catch a little bit of surprise early in the series, I would want to do that too. I'd be working on that every day. But anything that you see that you're going to need in that first series, you should have it advanced at 21 days before.
Wow.
Like I know Jimmy there in Boston. He's been working on stuff now for 2.5, almost 3 weeks, getting ready for playoffs. Stuff that he hasn't pulled out of the bag yet, but he's going to pull it out when the playoffs start.
Well then,
Hitch, do we in the media, like, whether it's a broadcast game before any playoff game, you know, you go through your matchups, you go specialty teams, goaltending, defense, physicality. Do we talk enough about playoff matchups between coaches enough and how that could be the difference? Getting caught on a line change that you didn't like, those things end up being difference makers that maybe your average fan doesn't see. Like last night, I was talking about maybe Sheldon getting caught, in my opinion, off of one line change on the game-tying goal, like Tavares, Matthews, and Nylander, something that we haven't seen too often. But, you know, regardless, my point in all of this is, like, as you as a coach in that position, do we give enough credit on you doing that sort of thing, lining matchups and not getting maybe the right guys out at the right time? And could it cost you a series or a Stanley Cup? Well,
it did cost me a series. Very early in my coaching career, I got schooled by Scotty. And I would say it's undervalued and underappreciated and really necessary. You know, the term we use, Nick, is you got to leave the guy coming on the ice in a good spot.
Yeah.
And you have to practice that a lot. You know, we did a series of drills, 4 drills, and we would do them once a week on changes. And it would be changes from a dump in, changes from possession, changes from a counterattack. Like, we would practice that as a warm-up drill. And I learned that from Scotty. Scotty practiced change drills all the time. That was part of his warm-up. And I don't think the coaches that do it well enough, like one of the best coaches in the world was Joel Quenneville at it. And I don't think they get near enough credit for the little sequences and little idiosyncrasies that they bring into the game when it really, really matters. And when you have a coach who makes sure his players get on the right ice at the right spot, the right places, and you can outchange a team, you're going to control the hockey game every time.
So what do you think that John Cooper, what sort of traits as a coach would define his coaching style to you? What does he do well or poorly or otherwise?
I think what he does well is he knows ahead of time how you're rotating your players.
Yeah.
First of all, you're never going to get a matchup on the road against him because he's not going to let you do it. But he somehow has a way of figuring out what your rotations are, whether it's where's the player sitting on the bench so he knows who's up, or does he have somebody on the bench letting him know where these guys are coming from and when they're coming. But he doesn't get beat on change drills at all, which I think is amazing. Really amazing.
God, when I played Hitch, I thought, just open the gate and let the good players go out there. And now I'm in my mid-50s, and I search for it. I want to know who's up against who, and it's like a song and dance for coaches, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, but it can wreck your team, Nick, if your players don't like that part. Like, some teams can adapt. They don't want to be part of a change group. They just want to come and play. They want to continue with the flow, and they just want to go. But if you've got a team that buys into change, like the way that Chicago played when they won their cups, man, they changed so well, and they had the right players on the ice all the time. And then you see how much Joel worked at that, and how, he would be playing a nothing game with a month left in the season and be doing a line matchup against a team that's in last place. He was getting his team used to it long in advance of when the playoffs started.
I'm not asking you to throw anybody under the bus here, Hitch, but we've got 32 teams in the league. How many coaches today would you say aren't very good at it at all? Or would we expect, hey, this is the best league in the world, 32 coaches are the best 32 coaches in the world?
Well, I don't really know. Like, I don't pay that close attention who's really good at it now or who isn't. But here's what I know, Nick, is that term leave your player in a good spot is critical if you want to win a playoff series, because that's the small difference between winning and losing. And when you look at the coaches right now who are perennial playoff performers and who really play well at this time of year, there's a reason. And there's a reason is because the guy gets the right players on the ice at the right time. There's also a reason where it's massive confusion. Like, how many times have you seen where there's like 7 players on the ice, or a guy gets caught on a change? Because when the game gets really emotional, it's hard to keep your focus. And if you haven't practiced it and then you try to use it, it never works. So to me, it's not the time to experiment. If you've got a playoff team and you want to have a hard match, you should have been practicing weeks ago.
Okay, I'm going to take one more crack at this. In your heyday as a coach, was there a team that you had success on because you knew that you could school the other coach on line changes?
Yes.
Love it.
Okay.
That's all we needed.
Okay. In the East or the West Conference?
Well, in the West.
A Canadian or American team?
Get out of here, Kip.
That's as far as you're going, Kip.
Hey, Hitch, a great conversation, man. I love the insight. Thanks for doing this for us.
Okay, guys, take care.
Thanks, Hitch.
Ken Hitchcock. See, I love that stuff. I find that fascinating.
Me too. You know who used to talk about that a lot? Mike Babcock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. To Hitch's point, early, I don't think the players understood it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it drove Austin Matthews crazy.
Yeah.
And it didn't work because Austin wasn't ready for that.
It's a really interesting point. And it's interesting that it's something he thought Chicago did really well.
Yeah. So, and then that whole thing about, needing to go down there and mend a fence. Remember, Babcock got on a plane to go talk to Austin, and there was some friction there.
Yeah.
It had a lot to do with, I think, how Austin was used or how he didn't adapt to what Babcock was probably trying to do. And then some nights he placed 17 and a half minutes because Babcock wanted the line changes.
It is funny. If you ask me, Babs has been validated in like a lot of things. Like a lot of things he said a lot have ended up looking pretty good.
Okay, tell me. I'm fascinated by what you're telling me.
Talking about the line changes, got to put the other guy in a good position.
Yeah.
He always talked about starts, right? That was a big thing that's common knowledge.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Whether he's there.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, the Marner stuff
Yeah.
about some guys didn't work hard enough. The way he handled that with Mitch was brutal.
Yeah.
But he wasn't wrong that some guys in the team didn't work hard enough.
Yeah.
Komarov, pretty good player. Played him a lot.
Yeah.
Pretty good player. He went to New York. He's pretty good there too.
Babcock won a Stanley Cup. He's got the blueprint.
And he worked with Quenneville and Hitch and the guys we're talking about too.
All right, here's another guy that's won a Stanley Cup. Thank goodness for that. Rode his coattails in 1994. Stephane Matteau. What's going on, buddy? Is all Masters all the time. Steph, we got you?
Breaking up a little bit, but yes, I am watching the Master this weekend. It's one of the best tournaments I've watched on TV, so it's always fun to watch.
Buddy, love talking hockey with you, but we're finishing this off with what you just said, one of the best tournaments in the world. We're watching it, and I get jealous when I hear of people that are there now. Tons of Canadians are down there. They're following along. You went a step further, man. You actually got to play. And I'm like, we got to talk about this because I've never really talked to you about this at all. How did you end up golfing 18 holes in Augusta?
Well, you mentioned it. Scoring that goal in '94 really helped. Oh, man, it's been Nick. It's been incredible. That goal brought me to a lot of places, including at the Augusta National. One of my best friends, Jim Flanagan, worked at PwC for years, and one of the members, Mr. Yates, Yates is the member at Augusta. He worked at PwC in the past. Jim found out that he had a connection at the Augusta National. He emailed them years ago, and they connected. And Jim's been there for about 9 years in a row now, 10 years in a row. He brought Mess. He brought Leachy all the time, Brian Leach, Mark Messier. And one year he brought me and Leach. So I got the chance to play there. I had a chance to sleep there at one of the cottages. And one of the best day of golf, not the best round, but one of the best experience I ever got in my life.
So, and entering in Magnolia Lane, where the workers go in, where were your first steps coming into the complex?
We played there. We got there the day before. We played a golf course across the street, and the grass was all yellow. And then we told the people, I said, "Well, we're playing Augusta National," and they looked at us like we were the gods in town. You guys are actually going to play the course tomorrow? I said, "Well, yeah, we're fortunate enough, but is that going to be that yellow?" I said, "Sir, Augusta, it's the greenest place on the planet." And then we entered from the front gate. Mr. Yates was waiting with us with with a scotch in his hand, with his leg crossed, and welcome to Augusta, guys. And guys, and then he took us to the room where we were sleeping. He said, "Shower, and then I'm going to pick you up in a golf cart limo, and then we're going to go around the golf course." So I didn't know much about the holes and the history of Augusta, besides just watching it on TV. But we went through the woods, and all of a sudden we end up in that on that little bridge. I don't know the name of that bridge, but we what's the name of that bridge in Augusta? Everyone takes picture there.
Is the Hogan Bridge? Is that?
I think it's Hogan's Bridge.
Hogan's Bridge. Heyman Bridge or something.
Heyman
one of
corner there, yeah.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah,
corner.
so we end up in those. I don't even know, like if it.
The
So
Hogan
we end
Bridge.
up in those places, and Leach, Brian Leach knew all about it. So we were taking pictures, and we went around the golf course. We went to the what impressed me the most. It's where they keep all their John Deeres in the back. There were like 20 or 25 or maybe even more. It looks like a brand new John Deere dealership. Everything looked like perfectly clean and everything. They were probably brand new, so everything was so perfect. And we had dinner there. There was only 3 foursomes playing that day, the next day. And the CEO of Bank of America was there, and the pitcher from the Mets, Justin Verlander, was there. And that's the only 3 groups who were playing that day and the following day.
Yeah, you have to have like providing planes to the government money type of deals.
Are you allowed to take pictures?
We are not allowed. We're allowed to take pictures, but I don't think we're allowed to post them on the social media.
Oh, okay.
We didn't do that. We took a bunch of pictures. Mr. Yates was very kind, and we played a par 3 in the morning. I didn't know that, but there's 12 holes. We played a par 3, and when he told us if you guys were ready, and he said let's go play, and the round started. So it was pretty. We didn't play from the tips. We played from probably the blues or the whites, but it didn't matter. So. What was one of the best day of golf.
What's your handicap and how do you play? What do you score at Augusta? I've heard that like when it's not in tournament format, it's not the most challenging course, but I imagine still a pretty tough track.
I'm about the 7 handicap. I shot 78 and 42.
Oh, nice.
No, 78 in the front 9 and 42 in the back 9.
So
I had a lot of. Be honest, I had a few X's. I could not finish the holes. There's some what you see on TV. It's not what's actually what's going on the golf course. Everything is. We did a lot of. A few 4 putts, and one of the most iconic hole on 16th par 3. The caddy goes, "Don't miss it to the right," and obviously I missed it to the right. And I 4-putted, and I think the 5th or 6th hole, I told the caddy, because now I was a veteran, I was a member at Augusta, let me read my own putt, and I was aiming to the left, and the caddy goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I think it's 10 feet to the left." He goes, "If my caddy master sees me letting you putt on the left, I'll lose my job. It's 20 feet to the right." So, I'm not kidding. I'm a pretty good 7 handicap. I can shoot 71. The next day I can shoot 94. But I'm to have a read from the opposite hole, but not only the opposite hole was 15 to 20 feet on the right. That was impressive. The caddy said, "Well, you don't believe me." He grabbed one of his ball in his little jacket. He threw it, and he landed an inch from the hole, going from right to left. So that was impressive.
How about Brian Leach, my buddy Leachy? How'd he fare?
I don't know. I don't remember. I think he takes it more. I don't take it seriously. I love the game, but Brian takes it a lot more serious than me. So we should ask him he's been there many times. So he'll be. Yeah. I don't know. I remember what we shot.
Yeah. Well, listen. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame, and me and you are talking to each other right now.
Well, I'm not in the Hall of Fame, but I played Augusta National.
Oh my God, you sure did, man! And hey, Steph, really appreciate you sharing that story with us. Now I'm really, really jealous, and man, if I could have just found a way to score a goal.
Nick, call me, man. Come to New York. I'll take you to Winged Foot. I'll take you to Bethpage Black. We played together last summer, and I have a lot of friends from the New York Rangers. They all belong to a pretty country club in New York, and I would love to take you there.
Okay, Sammy, stop drooling. Okay, it's embarrassing.
Well, I'm telling. So if the Rangers go far in the playoffs, give me a shout.
I will, buddy. I will. Hey, Steph, always a pleasure having you on our show.
All right, guys, have a good day.
Thanks, Steph.
That's 2-time double overtime, Steph Matteau.
I've told the story before, and I think I've told in this show about Clark Illies and taking me out my first time with him. Have I ever told about going to Bethpage? So he comes home from a tournament on like a Thursday night. He's like, he's been out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He comes back. He's like, tomorrow we're going to play golf. I'm like, it's like my first night ever spending the night at the Gillies. So I'm sleeping in his daughter's bed. Like we're 26, but I'm still in the Gillies house, sleeping in his daughter's room. It's a little weird. He's like, we'll go golfing tomorrow morning. Bethpage Black. I'm like, oh my God. 6 a.m., maybe a little before, he pokes his head in the room. Hey, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm up, I'm out. And as we're walking out to the car, he's like, you got running shoes? Because I usually borrow his stuff. And I was like, I guess I have running shoes. Why? And he's like, yeah, just grab them. So we go outside. It's raining. We're still going to go. And he goes, appreciate you doing this today. I was like, what? He's like, caddying for me. What? I'm caddying for you. So we get to the course, and so I grab his clubs, and he goes, "Okay, James's are over there." I was like, "Who's James? What are you talking about?" I'm carrying two. I'm carrying 2 sets of clubs.
2 bags.
So I'm standing on the tee of a course I've seen my whole life and dying to play, and waiting for everyone to hit. And he goes, "What are you doing?" I don't know. He goes, "You go out there." So, right, you're a 4 caddy. So I got to traipse out there, 2 bags in the rain and stand there.
And look for balls.
And look for balls in ankle-high rough at Bethpage Black.
4.5 hours.
4.5 hours, and they're playing wing foot after. And he goes, "You want to carry a wing foot too?" I was like, "You could find someone else for wing
I'm
foot."
busy.
Yeah, so I've walked Bethpage. I've yet to play it.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I got
the closest
rookied.
I have is Pebble Beach.
You played Pebble.
Oh, yeah, twice.
It's only $600 around, or 700 or something.
Would have paid 1,000.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
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 How'd you hit it?
Probably mid-80s.
Okay, yeah, that's
And
good.
it was the
Kipper,
slow.
you could go to a lot of courses in the world. I've seen your game. You're going to shoot mid-80s a lot of places you go. The game travels.
Hey, it's the best 6 hours you could spend.
Oh, really?
Everybody takes pictures.
Oh, yeah. You're
and
not out
it's
there for speed.
Nobody's in
No.
a rush.
Well, you
It
paid
is
that kind of money. You're like,
it's
take your time out there.
spectacular.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. All right,
So
back to the real world.
Good for Matteau, by the way, for not taking it very seriously and being a 7. That's pretty decent.
also, massive tree down at Augusta.
Yeah, did you see that? I was trying
No.
to show you that video here. So
No.
yeah, look at this. So right behind Sergio here in the background. I don't know if it falls on people or not. Boom!
Whoa.
I know.
Yeah. So really hoping that no one got.
It looks like there's some
Seriously hurt.
people
Yeah.
in the path of the fallen tree. I can tell you
Oh,
that.
my
That's
goodness.
a large tree that came down.
Pretty scary stuff, to be honest.
Now,
So-
is it because the winds are so high?
Oh,
I
yeah.
think so, yeah.
It's blowing like
Well, they got to
crazy.
get they got to
did.
get
It's
them off the
suspended.
course.
Suspended.
It is suspended again?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do.
So you guys want to do some questions?
Sure.
So this isn't a question, but this is something that you wanted to talk about and you didn't get to in the first segment. And it's a statement from George in Oakville, who texts in all the time. Please fix the power play. It's the same old, same old. Exclamation point.
Okay.
Mm.
This is now the 3rd or 4th year in a row where the power play has been a concern at the end of the season, and I hope it doesn't carry on in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
So, okay, what are they doing today? What's Sheldon doing today
Well, they're
Flying
off
back
today.
from Boston.
besides flying back from Boston to fix
Yeah.
his power play?
Watching a lot of video, I imagine, and trying to figure out what's going on. Is it entries? Are they having trouble getting set up? Is it puck movement? Is it, the other team's defending them well?
Is it Matthews too much? I know they do get rotations and they try to get movement, but every time I look up, Matthews is on his strong side.
They're on different sides a lot. I feel like they move around.
Enough?
But it doesn't matter to me because they're in the same places. Like they're in a 1-3-1 and it can be whichever guy, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. Like it does make a difference if it's a Marner or Matthews because they obviously have big preferences, but you can see that pretty quick as a defense. I don't know. Just it's too late to come up with something new outside of saying maybe we'll use the low play more or the high play more.
Does 4 games give enough time for a guy like Gustafsson to come in and is the whole idea behind Gustafsson's pickup is to have an option for the power play?
It's crazy to think that they took Morgan Riley off the power play and had Rasmus Sandin run it
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Is that the next step here in the next 3 games to do the same thing and then put in Gustafsson? That's his strength.
The disappointing games here on the power play might be impetus for them to say, let's just get Gus running PP1 for 2 of these next 4 games, just so he has a feel for it, just in case. Also, if we feel like Shen's struggling, then all of a sudden you can swap Gus in for him, and then you got a PP option like come game 3 or something. That might be the fix.
The only issue
Hope you
is
don't
that
need one.
Only issue is that you're robbing Peter to pay Paul because you're playing the number 1 aggressive team in the National Hockey League. Like Tampa Bay is not going to get in a run and gun with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are going to slow you down. They're going to hit you. They're going to scrum you. They're going to piss you off. You need Shannon, I think, just from that.
You know, and this is a conversation that a lot of people have had and that they've had, but you also then need a power play that can make them pay so they don't feel like they can do whatever they want. Last year, the Toronto Maple Leafs took 12 penalty minutes, more than 12 penalty minutes per game in round one, which is not their game at all. They're not that team.
So they got lured in.
They played that element of Tampa's game, great special teams that they have and love the physical stuff. Need to be able to make them feel like it can't be a special teams trade-off series.
Hey, what did you think of the trade-off on the Lafferty hit along the walls and then getting challenged by Greer?
I thought it was fine all around. I thought the hit was greasy but fine.
Yeah.
I thought, the guy fighting him for the greasiness was fine. I thought him standing in there was fine. Fine all around.
I was a little surprised that he got two instigating and
I think they're trying to do that a lot. I think that's a new effort.
I think you're right. And I think when I saw how quick Lafferty dropped his gloves, I thought it was borderline, hey, I want to avenge that hit. I'm offering you a chance to fight me. Do you accept? And Lafferty got his gloves off quickly, and it was like, yes, I accept. To me, if two guys fight, somebody has to be a little bit of an aggressor or at least initiate a challenge. Does that automatically give you the aggressor now?
Yeah, I forget where I saw this, if it was in The Athletic or on our broadcast or where, but since the GM meetings, I think there's been a real effort that fights after clean hits are being met with a 2-minute instigator for whoever comes in that, which I think is a good message to send.
Well, listen, in the playoffs, if you go and fight or challenge somebody to a fight, it's not worth it. That's your power play could make or break you. So
yeah,
if that's the case, I wonder how the players feel about that.
Yeah. But I mean, we've talked a lot about they're trying to find solutions to this fighting after clean hit stuff. I don't think it's much of a crisis myself.
Yeah. Just one note on the power play. I mean, it was like almost yesterday we were talking about Edmonton and Toronto, 1-2 on the power play. The Leafs have sunk to fourth, and Colorado's on their heels. Dallas is on their heels. Like, it's going down the wrong way. It's heading the wrong way. It's trending in the wrong direction. That's another reason to kind of focus.
Your boys together.
Focus on
ESPN,
focus on the 4 games.
Yeah.
ESPN reporting no injuries on the tree falling at Augusta. They're showing it now on the broadcast. If you look up to it is a massive tree.
Jeez, and it's on a hole.
Is it in the middle of a hole?
Yeah, it's right over the 16th or the 17th tee box.
You got to hit a wedge over it to start. This is like when in Happy Gilmore there was the
play it at the lines, Happy.
TV tower fell in the line.
Are they going to be like some of the courses opening up where tomorrow they're only playing like 15 holes?
Yeah. You got to win the Masters.
Teeing it up from in front of the tee tomorrow.
Okay, quick one here.
In front of the tree.
Hey,
quick one.
Are they going to get that thing cleaned up?
Oh,
it's Augusta. You kidding?
Buddy,
they got someone that lives underground that's just going to pull it on.
They got the 20
Matteau.
John Deeres.
Yeah, they're sending out the army of John Deeres.
Some guy's been waiting for this his whole career. This is his big
I
moment.
love Matteau's like, the thing that impressed me the most
was the John Deeres,
the most.
Was the dealership in the back.
This is, if you're the number 1 seed in the West, which wildcard 2 team between Winnipeg, Calgary, and Nashville do you want to play, and which do you least want to play?
You know who I want to play is Nashville because they suck. That's my take, Preds. Where are the Preds fans at? I've been saying that about them.
I'm sorry, but they're still really in it.
They're extremely in it.
Very alive.
They traded away Ekholm, Janot, Granlund. They got no one who can score, no one who can defend, and a really good goalie. They give up like the 30th most chances against per game. I'll take my chances on Saros at that point.
Yeah, if you're the top seed, who is the top seed right now?
Vegas.
Vegas, you don't care.
Maybe you just go to all three of them. Say you're not that good at hockey. Let's just try to draw straws or something.
Like Hellebuck, Markstrom, and Saros, though, like three pretty good 8-seed goalies.
Yeah. But
Well,
I don't think
your mileage may vary on Markstrom in that conversation.
I don't think you're sweating too
Tomorrow
much
night,
anyway.
Nashville and Winnipeg.
Yeah.
There's your season right there.
Everyone's like, should we add teams to the playoffs? And this year, it's like maybe we'll just have
Winnipeg and
14
Calgary
teams
for
make the
Nashville.
playoffs.
Right?
Last quick one. With Brian Boyle, this is from Warrior Womp on YouTube. With Brian Boyle joining the NHL Network as a studio analyst, it made me think of this question. In the next 10 years, who would you like to see on this Leafs team become a commenter or a commentator? Sorry.
Morgan Riley. I think Morgan Riley is the smartest, funniest guy on that team.
Okay.
And the guy who maybe talks the least.
He talks a bit.
To the media. Yeah, he doesn't say much.
Broadcasting, Samsonov.
It ain't any of the good players. You know?
Ilya Samsonov.
I think my pick would be Tavares.
Oh, my God.
Well, it's certainly going to be a great matchup tonight. Obviously, a real honor for me to be on this broadcast.
Safe.
I'm just happy to
He's
be here.
just safe.
Yeah.
Just
Probably not Mitch. I don't think he has any interest.
Maybe if you
Gio?
Yeah. Could see it. No, not so much for you.
No.
Not Brody. I don't think I've heard
Justin
Brody
Hall.
say 3 words
No,
since
not
he's
Brody.
been here.
May not be on the team. He's a mystery, right? Remember
Yeah,
he did the
he doesn't
Amazon
talk-
All or
yeah.
Nothing? He was in no episodes
He
for no
doesn't-
seconds.
He doesn't speak.
No.
He doesn't speak.
He doesn't speak, which, I mean, there's never been a more under the radar top pairing free agent signing in the history of Toronto.
In 22
How about
minutes
Bunting?
a night.
He
Yeah.
can
he could
chew the fat.
Yeah, he could dial it up a little bit for sure.
pick.
Okay.
For sure. All right, there you go. That's it.
That's it.
Habs Leafs tomorrow night. Catch the fever.
Hey, fun show today. Doug McLean, Ken Hitchcock, and Stephane Matteau talking Augusta National.
Yeah, right. We just talked golf for 20 minutes.
Loved it. Our thanks to all of you being on the show all week. Give us a rating and review if you get a chance. Love Real Kyper and Bourne in front of all of you. Have a great weekend.
Hi, Zach here from Speedy Glass. Got a chip in your windshield? Don't wait until it spreads. Get it repaired now by Speedy Glass experts. Why?